We do have a great presentation by Paul Comfort about the future of public transportation. We are going to make it a little fun. Tracy has prepared some trivia questions for us. So in between, we're going to have a little break to answer trivia questions. So be ready and answer quickly because you'll just have about a minute or so to respond. After the time limit, we're going to see how many people answered, what they chose. And then I will let you know what the correct answer is. And of course, we'll probably have some people that have the same answer. And what we're going to do is we're going to put all of you into the pot, and then you'll be entered to win a prize from us. And we'll send you an email, an e-gift card afterwards with your gift. So good luck to everyone. One housekeeping item, as you know, please put yourselves on mute. And if you do have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat, and we will ask Paul during the Q&A session. So first, let's go ahead and put up a trivia question. Is everybody ready? Let's see, Elizabeth, can you put that up? Or let's see. What year was ACT incorporated?
David, you're not allowed to vote.
Yes, David, no. Elizabeth or Emily or Tracy. Let's see. What year?
This is a tricky one.
One of them is the year I graduated high school. Just saying.
Actually, same.
Showing my age.
One of them was the year I was born.
Oh no, who just said that?
Megan.
That's disgusting.
Thank
You
you
can forgive
so
me
much.
because look at all the cute baby photos behind me.
Thank you for letting me know that. All righty. All right, Elizabeth, you want to put up the result?
All right. Yeah. Dun, dun, dun.
1991. That is the correct answer. All right, guys, good job.
ACT is as old as me, Emily.
Oh my gosh, stop rubbing it in. All righty, we've got Holly Morella, our membership chair. Holly, do you want to say a couple of words?
I do. Hi, guys. First up, I want to welcome our newest Chesapeake Chapter members, and I happen to know one of these from a previous life, so it's interesting how things come around that way. But Stacy King and Anthony Foster, both with Prince William County, Prince George's County Department of Public Works and Transportation. So welcome to them. And then second, I'd like to take just a minute to mention the excellent content that we as members have been able to take advantage of in the last month or so. So from an ACT national perspective, the TDM forum was held on the afternoon of November 2nd, and it provided excellent content. I'm going to give you just a quick synopsis of one of the sessions. It was entitled A Spotlight on Atlanta, and panelists representing a mix of public agencies and private sector leaders discussed what is currently happening in Atlanta. How has the region been adjusting? What is influencing their decision-making about their return to work? What are the behavioral, economic, and social challenges they anticipate having to overcome? So besides great presentations, the forum also provided the opportunity for group discussions and networking. And I wasn't able to stay on for the entire forum, but they were even able to end the day with a virtual happy hour. So it was a great event. And then on November 17th, there was a webinar entitled Implementing Safety Features to Build Rider Trust. And we heard presentations from Tripshot and Genentech. And then yesterday, the Vanpool Council held a meeting where we learned about who the new council officers are going to be for the next 2 years and participated in brainstorming sessions on topics to include how to prepare for our customers returning to work and how to handle employers who are concerned with liability issues. And so then I'll move on quickly to the Chesapeake chapter. We held a webinar on equity and digital marketing on October 28th and heard really great presentations from Nicholas Kozar and Courtney Menjivar from Wells and Associates, who, by the way, are also Chesapeake chapter members. And so I'll just wrap up by saying there's detailed information on the ACT website about the 4 membership options, which are organizational, self-employed, retiree, and student. And so if you value your ACT chapter membership, please consider expanding the number of ACT members within your organization. And remember to talk with friends and colleagues who work in transit or transit adjacent industries about the benefits of being an ACT member and recommend that they join the fun. And as always, please feel free to reach out to me at hmorello@omniride.com. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Emily or Tracy, and enjoy the member celebration, you all.
Okay, thank you, Holly. Also, we do have David Strauss, president of ACT. David, do you have any words you'd like to say to the group?
I think he's mid chat.
Mid chat. Hold on. We'll give him a second. Let's see. No.
I will do a quick follow-up to Holly's pitch and just say, for those of you whose memberships might be expiring at the end of the year, go ahead and renew now. You don't want to miss out on all the exciting stuff that we've got going on next year.
All righty. Okay, we're going to go ahead and have another trivia question. Let's see what that is. Okay, how many members are in the Chesapeake chapter? 166, 171, 182, or 197? Wow, that's a lot. Let's see.
This is a good question.
It is a really good question.
Has everybody voted? Getting there, getting there.
Getting there. Okay.
Okay,
right.
I think we've got that.
Okay.
And I'm going to share the results.
Oh, everyone, 41% or 46% said 182. Well, the actual answer is 166, but we can get to 182. Everyone renew your memberships and get a friend. All righty. Okay, let's get to the good stuff. Let's get to Paul. All right. Okay, most of you may already know Paul, but I'm going to do a brief bio introduction of him. Paul is the author of the Amazon #1 best-selling book, The Future of Public Transportation, and host of the world's top public transportation CEO podcast, Transit Unplugged, heard in 99 countries. He actually interviewed our CEO at Hampton Roads Transit recently. Great job. He serves as Vice President of Business Development for the Trapeze Group and is the Executive Director of the North American Transit Alliance. Paul is a longtime industry veteran and a former CEO of one of America's top transit systems, the Maryland Transit Administration in Baltimore. He's also served as an elected county commissioner and county administrator, and is the recipient of the transportation industry's highest individual honor, the American Association of State Highway and Transportation Officials President's Award. Congratulations, Paul. Do you want to go ahead and take it away?
Sure, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Hey everybody, how you doing? I know a few of you on the line. Great to be with you today. It's my third presentation, but I'm bringing it on for you. So I'm basically a full-time speaker now and writer. Trapeze has allowed me to basically be their thought leader, connector guy. And so I'm having a blast with what I'm doing, and very happy to share with you today some of what I see as the future of public transportation. Let me see if I can share my screen. And I'll put up a little presentation for us. How's that? Let's see. There we go. Let me know when it's up on the screen. Somebody give me a thumbs up when you see it. Is it good? Okay, great. Future public transportation. And let's see if I can make it move forward. Okay, there we go. So today I want to talk about the impact of COVID on our transit systems, what some of the trends are, and then how agencies are future-proofing their service. So I think most of us know that prior to March of this year, public transportation was actually on a really good upswing. 2017, we had seen 7 major transit systems in North America. Finally, after a 5-year decline, industry-wide on ridership, our number one KPI, we'd seen it go down and go across the bottom and then start coming back up. 7 of the top 35 transit systems in 2017 saw an increase in ridership led by Houston, Seattle, folks that were doing the kind of Houston reboot of their routes. 2018 and 19, it was more. We did it in Baltimore Link. And then finally in 2019, last year, the overall industry saw an increase in ridership. And then 2020 came and we had a gut punch, right? The lockdowns required people to work from home. And therefore, since most of the people that ride public transit ride it to work, for commuters outside of the city and even folks in the city, we saw a 50 to 95% ridership reduction. But you know what? One of the positive things I think that came out of this was that when the government said, only essential workers can ride public transit and everyone else stopped, we still had like 50% ridership. Most systems across America stabled at 50 to 60%. Commuter services were lower, but so that shows you that the wheels in the bus go round and round are also the wheels on our economy. That these, I don't like the term essential workers really, because I think all work is essential, but I think we know what they mean. The people that are required to keep the economy turning and that have to go into work personally and can't work from home like some of us can, still made up 50% of our ridership. And I think that led to number 3 on this. So what happened as a result of that was we had routes reduced to meet the demand. We didn't want people interacting with the driver at the front of the bus, potentially spreading germs back and forth. So a lot of agencies went to rear door boarding. That led to fares being waived because that's where the fare box is at the front. You couldn't get to it anymore. And then cleaning got ramped up. This is all generalized, of course, but those are 4 of the big things that happened. And then, of course, we had the CARES Act. $25 billion was given to us just a few months ago, and it's already been spent by most major transit systems. They're already out. I remember Phil Washington told me when he got it. I forget when it was. Maybe it was April, May. And he said, Paul, I guarantee it's not going to last through October. And certainly, and that's what happened. LA Metro, his agency, New York, BART, Chicago, all the major cities have already run out of money, basically. But it was the single largest tranche of funds ever provided in one hunk of money, 280% of our FY 2020 allocation. What have people done to respond to it? Well, here's some pictures from Phil Verster, my buddy at Run Metro Links in Toronto, commuter bus, commuter train service. They put in health kiosks like that at the bottom, get your temperature taken, get your cell phone wiped, all that kind of stuff before you get on the bus. Dividers between the seats, especially on the longer routes, commuter buses. People don't want to sit next to somebody for over 15 minutes, unless they got a divider up. Seating at reduced capacity. Then that led to real-time passenger information, which is the number one trend right now in the US when it comes to responding to COVID. I did a podcast with David Gerstle, the chief digital officer of MBTA in Boston last month, and we talked just about this. That's all we talked about was how this new real-time information can be useful to folks so they know how many people are on the bus. Ultraviolet light, now the latest thing is misting. There's been some, New York MTA just came out with some negative results on some of their testing they've done, but ways to kill germs on the vehicles. Microtransit popped up, right, as a great response for niche service. Give you an example. Our friend Paul Wiedefeld, who heads up WMATA, he had to cut service at certain times of the day and night and cut out 9 o'clock service on some parts of the city. Washington Post followed up with an interesting story showing that some of the folks that were now disenfranchised, not able to get to work, were nurses and medical technicians at some of the hospitals in DC because their shift started after 9 o'clock. And so the city contracted with VIA, the microtransit provider, and gave the app to the medical technicians and nurses that needed to use it. They could push a button on their phone and it would triangulate their location, tell them where to go stand on the curb. And the VIA bus would come by and pick them up and their coworkers and other workers from other hospitals and take them in. So microtransit, that's the kind of niche that it's filling. And it's one of the top 3 trends, the one being the real-time passenger info, 2 being microtransit as a real solution. I think as we come out of COVID-19, many transit agencies may not offer the exact same service patterns and levels that they did prior to COVID-19. And as a result of that, some folks are still going to need service, but there's not enough people on that route to justify a 40-foot bus. And so microtransit may play a solution there. And then, of course, mass on board. Wrote an article for Metro Magazine back at the beginning of the summer on the 5 long-term implications of COVID on transit. I'll just review these real quickly. I think they're all still true. Number 1 is the death of the fare box. What do I mean by that? Exactly what it says. The fare box is becoming an anachronism. Some places, like I was just on a call with Joshua Shank from LA Metro. Just prior to this, we were speaking at the Commotion Conference. And, they're studying now, right? So Robbie Mackinnon, the CEO of Kansas City Area Transit Authority, was the first big transit agency in the country to say, we're going to go fare free prior to COVID. And they did it during COVID. And they're not going to go back. And LA and other cities are now saying, you know what? Not only like no cash fares, but no fares at all as a way to produce more social equity. As Joshua was just saying, right, our highways are subsidized dramatically and they're free. So of course, people are going to take the cheaper option. And so why not make the other options free and allow people, especially with lower income? So that's an argument, that is being made there. But really what I meant by this was not fare free, although that is a burgeoning trend. But it is moving away from cash, right? And moving to other forms of payment, e-pay, multi-use cards, which a lot of people have, like a charm card we had in Baltimore, or even the, wearables like they're doing in Vancouver, a bracelet that you can tap and go that has a tag on it that has an account for you. So it's happening, right? It just is happening. A lot of transit systems are talking about validator-only transit. Title VI implications there, obviously, but some folks are working with the FTA on that to see if, these chargeable multi-use cards can be used and meet that demand. If we do move away from fare boxes and more toward e-faring, that'll allow us to do all door boarding, which is key. Why is that key? Well, here's why. So when I wrote this book, The Future of Public Transportation, it wasn't just me, by the way. It's a big book, 425 pages. I had 40 of the world's leading experts write a chapter for me. And so I only wrote 3 chapters. It was great. But when I was doing the book, I was talking to the folks at the Visa credit card, the guys that run the guys and gals that run the public transportation component of their group. And they sent me some of the studies they'd done. And they did a study in 2018 and 19 that showed that one of the very top concerns people had about riding transit was how long it took to do anything. It's so slow, right? So think about it. They said not only is in most cities, the bus is in the same traffic as all the cars, but the bus is pulling over every block and stopping and letting people on for a minute or two. So why would I ride a bus that's slower than the cars I'm in? So all door boarding could help us fix that, right? What is going on at the fare box? Man, we did a study when I was at MTA. I had my COO, John Duncan. We were allowed to do the study. We were allowing people to buy a same-day pass at the fare box when you got on the bus. What did that mean? I have to drop $4, 4 single dollar bills and a dime into the fare box. It's $4.10. And then the driver had to type some information into the fare box and the ticket would pop out and he'd hand it to the passenger. That, on average, that transaction took 30 seconds. We calculated how much wasted time that was at the fare box with everybody standing behind that person waiting to get on. And we calculated 56,000 wasted hours of productivity in a year just from that one function. So that's what slows the bus down, right? All these little things slow the bus down. And so in order to make the bus go faster, one way to do that is all door boarding. That would help that. Commuter services, I think, are still going to be very slow to recover. Analogous to the 9/11 tragedy, right? I went back and tried to find in my mind, think about what's the most relevant situation we've had in the past, because we've had nothing like COVID, right, in my lifetime. And I think 9/11 was the best corollary I come to. I went back and looked at the national database on transportation statistics and saw that it took 18 months for riders to, passengers to get back on airplanes to the level they were before 9/11. They were afraid to ride because of the terrorists and all that. Well, people are afraid to ride now, right? The politicians have told them, unclean, transit is unclean. It's a petri dish for germs. All untrue, by the way, as we've seen by all the studies coming out. Most studies have shown, I think all studies have shown that I've read that, public transportation is no more dangerous than walking down Lowe's or anywhere else. Might actually be less dangerous because everyone has a mask on and no one's talking anymore on the vehicles. And so anyway, but commuter services are still going to be slow to recover. I mean, I was just talking with the guy who runs, his name is Rod Staples. He runs the transit service in New South Wales, which is where, in Australia, which is where Sydney is. And he told me same thing's happening there, right? Same thing that's happening here. BART, Long Island Railroad, MARC, they're all under 40% still. Some are still under 20%. People are not, and I'm going to tell you, they're not going to go back. Most of us who can work from home are going to maybe go in when absolutely necessary. Other than that, we're not going to go into the office anymore. I mean, look, Microsoft you saw it, right? Like last month, they said permanent. People don't have to come into the office anymore that work at Microsoft. So the big tall buildings in the downtown areas are going to have to find other uses for their office space as people shrink their footprint. But that affects our commuter services. And so some folks are looking at other options and saying, with the lower peaks for commuter buses, right? So some folks on this call were familiar with our commuter bus service that we ran in Maryland. We had 350 buses I contracted with 7 motor coach companies. They're all dying on the vine. I feel so bad for them because not only are a lot of the commuter bus contracts paused for now, but their regular work that they used to run. I mean, I worked for Yellow Transportation, used to run I had my own motor coach division, and we ran contracts for MTA. We ran Loudoun County Commuter Bus Service in Northern Virginia. I ran a bunch of contracts and services, and plus all the extra work we did, right? The fall foliage and trips to New York and movie sets and all that stuff we did. It's all gone. And so if we ever, get things back to normal, I don't think commuter services are going to be back above 80%. So as a result of that, they need to look at other options in order to help, meet what they need to pay their bills. And so one of the ways to do this is to look at new audiences, such as families coming in or nights and weekends, meaning let your commuter train service, if we can get CSX to give us some track time at nights and weekends, we could run train service into the cities for the nightlife and allowing people to go to ball games once we get back into ball games, hopefully, later in the spring, once everybody gets their shot. So I think commuter services are going to be very slow to recover and maybe will never recover back to the levels they were. And so they have to, like my friend Lauren Skyver says, she runs Sunline Transit in Coachella Valley, don't sell what people aren't buying. We need to figure out what people are buying post-COVID and adjust our services, right? Somebody used to tell me I could sell mosquito netting to an Eskimo. And the reason is because I understand you have to shape your product to the demand, right? So it's not mosquito netting, it's fish net. And we're going to help you catch fish there, right? So what we have to offer, right, is buses and trains and vans and commuter services. And we need to adjust our offerings to meet the demand in order to continue to be relevant. We could talk more about that later, I'm sure, in the Q&A if you have any questions on that. I probably won't be able to answer them, but Elizabeth's very smart. She'll be able to answer your questions on that. So, and then increase federal funding, right? It's looking good, brothers and sisters. It's looking good. Not only did we get this big hunk of money, but the new, just this week, APTA came out. I don't know if you saw the letter, but it's like it's a lot more money in what they're looking at for the new Reauthorization Act. You probably saw that the Reauthorization Act was only reenacted for 1 year because we're in the middle of this election cycle. And I think, some folks wanted to put more into it. Other folks wanted less. And so they're based on the outcome of the election. So they just punted for a year, but it's looking really good. I mean, even Republicans are realizing that, and this is not a political statement, but I'm a Republican, but even Republicans now on the Capitol Hill are realizing, hey, public transit is not a nicety, it's a necessity, and it's not like a cruise, right? It's not like an airline trip. It's like absolutely necessary for our economy to run. And if you are pro-economy and pro-jobs, you got to be pro-transit. And so I think we're going to see increased federal funding. I think they've realized it's not just a local responsibility, right? It's got to be a federal responsibility, not just in the capital side, like Canada has been up until this year, right? Did you know that? Canada only provided money for capital, and we worked on it. CUDA, the Canadian Urban Transit Authority, my company, Trapeze, is a Canadian company. We worked on in Ottawa, and I did a lot of promotion up there for them on some of the stuff I do. We did a tour across Canada before this and hosted a lot of their CEOs on some of the events I was doing and got the word out. And Prime Minister Trudeau and the government there relented, and for the first time ever is providing matching funds for their provinces. Whatever new dollars they put in toward operating dollars for public transit, the federal government's going to match that up to a cap. So it's a very exciting time in Canada for them there to see the federal government respond by putting money into operating dollars. So anyway, and here in the US, I think it's the same. And then I think we have to keep our cleaning protocols going, right? We're going to have the cleanest vehicles, the cleanest stations, the cleanest whatever. I mean, it's going to be like amazing. I can tell you that prior to this, I've run small, medium, Queen Anne's County, that's where I started, right here where I live now. I used to run the small county ride bus system, 15 vehicles, that's how I started my career 30 years ago right at college. Then went into mid-sized systems running, Connect a Ride in Laurel and Columbia, HATS, we used to call it HATS, now it's Howard Area Transit, and all these other services, and then set up services across America from the Microsoft campus in Redmond, Washington to the Virgin Islands and almost 25 states in between. Transit systems did not clean their vehicles very well, is all that. That's what that's about. I mean, we might do a deep cleaning once a week and sweep out the bus, every other night or something. And so this new COVID thing, we're going to have clean vehicles. As I mentioned, here are some of the ridership silver bullets, using an analogy from the Lone Ranger, but I think I'm going to change that now. It's probably not the best analogy. Maybe use the 3 keys or something. But here's what people were doing just prior to COVID, and I still think it's relevant now to increase their ridership. As I mentioned, reboot the bus network. Some cities like Columbus, I think, and others have paused their analysis, and I've encouraged them to do that. Let's wait and see where things are going to be on the other side of this thing, right? So the people that were riding and where they were riding beforehand may not be what it is afterwards. But once we get through this in the spring, I'd say, let's analyze our bus routes and focus on where the jobs and population shifts are. And that affects commuter services as well, obviously. Then we need to increase our frequency on them, on the key routes. George will remember that in Baltimore, he can tell you that when we did this Baltimore Link thing, that was part of our big key was we changed the whole structure of all the routes in Baltimore, the bus routes. First off, get this. I don't know if you knew this. Let me give you 3 facts about Baltimore Transit. Number 1, Baltimore puts $0 into the MTA. 0. As a matter of fact, I gave Baltimore money to run their circulator service. We gave them $1 million and I upped it to $2 million. So they put $0 in their own transit system. It's a state agency, right? It's like MBTA and others. But so that's one interesting fact. Number 2, but they're still an important key stakeholder. I still work closely with Jack Young when he was, city council chair. Now he's mayor, obviously, and all that. But and Brandon and all those guys, we worked very closely with them when I was there to make sure we were meeting their needs. They're key stakeholders. But the other key fact was that the bus routes in Baltimore were laid out 50 years ago. 50 years ago, back when, we still had those trolley barns on Washington Street. You look at our big garage there, and it still had the rails in it from the trolleys that would do it. And so all the routes were laid out so that 2/3 of the routes went into the central business district in downtown Baltimore. Those 4 streets that we're all very familiar with, right? Pratt, Lombard, Howard Street, all those streets there. And just jammed up with all these buses. There's so many buses going down those streets. I would look out my window at the 26th floor of 6 St. Paul Street and on Baltimore Street in front of me. And I mean, they'd be bus bunching, they'd be all jammed up, and they're, every 5 minutes, there's a bus, every 2 minutes, every 1 minute, every 30, just insanity. But that's the way the bus routes were laid out. And get this is the key point I wanted to tell you. The commuter train service, Mark was going through there, no connections with that. No real connections for the buses. The subway system was built 30 years ago, and the light rail system was built 25 years ago. Remember when William Donald Schaefer was there, and he said, we're going to have light rail to the Orioles, daggone it, on the opening day of that stadium in Camden Yards. And by gum, that's what happened. It was the very first day of operation of the light rail, was the very first day that Camden Yards was open. They got it open just in time. But guess what? The bus routes were never adjusted to link in with the light rail or the subway. So that's why we called it Baltimore Link. We were linking the service finally. So we were running 4 different services side by side. The light rail ran its own thing, down Howard Street. The metro, very small metro system, but the subway system was running its own, mostly for people going to Johns Hopkins. A lot of them, it popped right up underneath Johns Hopkins. And the commuter MARC train service went through there, and there wasn't a lot of connections. So linking it all together, and then creating 12 high frequency routes that would pulse in and out of the downtown area. They were the only routes that went into the central business district. We went from like 50 routes to 12, but they were on 15-minute headways in theory. And so this is a big key for transit systems right now, is moving away from time point management. So you don't need a schedule. You open it up and say, okay, we're in the 7:17. Okay, no, you just stand there. The bus will come like clockwork every 10 to 15 minutes. That's the industry definition. It's under 15 minutes for high frequency. Then we want to reduce friction. Anything that will slow the bus down. I've already told you one big thing, right? Move fairing off the vehicle. Add in bus-only lanes. As you know, Baltimore had bus-only lanes, but nobody obeyed it. And so we painted them red, and I got the city to agree to 5 miles. Kevin Quinn was the head of planning. He worked close. Now he's the administrator, great guy. He worked heavily with the city on getting those lanes, enforced. We had our MTA police, and we did a deal with Baltimore City Police, enforcing those lanes. I hate Big Brother stuff, but I would even be okay with cameras monitoring those. And then transit signal priority, right? We got 35 intersections in Baltimore to agree. The city, we paid for it all, but the city allowed us to put transit signal priority. Anything that'll speed the bus up. Here are some great mobility trends. Wow, while I've been on here, I've had 10 text messages. What in the world is going on? Let's see here. Okay. It's my brother's birthday, and my daughter is selling her house, and she just found out she's having a girl. So they're texting me all this stuff. So exciting. But anyway, 4 big mobility trends: curb and street management, technology, contactless fares, and zero emission. This is what was happening in the last half of 2020 into 2021. I think you already know all this, but bikes up, scooters down, right? Nobody's riding scooters anymore in cities, thankfully. I'm not a big fan of scooters personally. I've been to cities where they are just strewn everywhere like garbage, like debris. And I remember being in Memphis saying, my buddy Gary Rosenfeld, we used to work together at Laidlaw, he runs that now. And I was like, Gary, what the heck is going on in your town, man? There's scooters everywhere, up in trees. I'm not kidding. And anyway, they've got to be, if you're going to bring them in, they probably have a place, but let's get things under control a little bit, please. Bus only lanes, TSP, car-free city centers. 11 major cities in the U.S. did that. Did you know that during COVID? It's pretty awesome. No cars in the middle of the city. I love it. Congestion charging, right? So, Andy Byford, I just talked to him a few weeks ago on the podcast. You should listen to that one if you haven't. It's great. He was a New York guy. Now he's London, right? I made friends with him when I was at MTA. He was in Toronto. We both spoke at an APTA conference. And he's really the leading transportation official in the Western world right now. And London, I just was on a call a few minutes ago with a guy from London that's heading up their COVID response. And he said they've actually expanded their congestion charging. Everybody's back in their car after COVID because they're afraid of buses and the tube, right, in London. So they've expanded the time when they charge that congestion charge. LA's looking to do it, New York, et cetera. It's a solution that, is scary for some people. $10 to drive into the city. Sheesh. But I think it's coming, at least to our major cities. And then bus rapid transit. Man, that is the way to go if you can do it. I tried to do that in Southern Maryland, but somebody above me wouldn't let me do it. George, you know that, right? I was pushing for that light rail line and wanted to do BRT to get us there. Technology, microtransit, AVs, mobile fare payments, wearables. PTC is almost done now. Positive train control. First and last mile solutions, mobility as a service, smart infrastructure, and 5G if we can get people to stop burning down the towers. These are all the new technology things that are happening right now across the world to help mobility provide better service. Contactless fares, we've already talked about that. Zero fares, cash free, and zero emission vehicles, right? That's electric is a big one. Proterra just came out with some amazing vehicles that can run all day long on one charge. I'm good friends with those guys. And then, hydrogen and CNG. One more thing on transit. When I was reviewing this book and I was editing all these chapters from these 40 experts, I kept thinking, there's one more thing I want to talk about. So I did a last chapter in the book called One More Thing. It was like 7 things. These are 3 I wanted to share with you today that are key. Workforce development, man, the role of our drivers and mechanics in big fixed buses, they call them operators, not drivers, but the unionized employees there, they're going to have to be taught new skills and new functions. A bus is no longer like, you can't work on it if you're a shade tree mechanic, right? It's all computerized now. They've got the latest buses, and the company I work with, Trapeze, has all this stuff that works with all this. That's how I know a lot about it. We have all the technology on the buses that connect in with this. But get this, now these buses, these big new buses, they can tell you when they're going to break down before they break down. They've got artificial intelligence and machine learning, and it says, hey, if this core piece gets over 300 degrees, it's going to break down within 30 minutes. And it'll send a signal to the shop to dispatch automatically. They'll call the driver and say, pull over at your next safe at the end of the line. We're going to replace the bus. Imagine how much that's, you know what a big hassle it is to have a bus breakdown. And it's a major deal. So anyway, all the new skills and functions are required. P3s are still the thing. Even I wanted to mention this today. I know the purple line seems like it's falling apart. I was involved, not at the inception, but I was there when we picked the franchises, the concessionaires and all that stuff. And it was the largest P3 public-private partnership in the country at the time, $5 billion. I still believe in it. I believe in these design, build, operate, maintain, and now finance big capital project structures, because I like the finance at the end, because now they have some skin in the game, right? And so when these big companies, Fluor, Meridian, all these other companies that are involved, when they put their own money or borrow money and are involved in it, it just raises their level of awareness and their interest and focus, I think, on making sure that it's successful. And to be honest with you, governments don't have a lot of capital dollars sitting around right now. And so if we're going to do these big infrastructure projects, I still think there's a place for it. In Australia and China and Asia, this is all the rage. The P3s are. They're not just, they're not just building it, right? They're actually running it. And then shared air travel. Just before COVID, I got to host something called Go Nevada, which was it was in Las Vegas. It was a statewide thing about what's the future going to look like. And I had folks there from, vertical takeoff and landing vehicles, what that stands for, from Uber Air. And they unveiled it the next day at the Consumer Electronics Show. Amazing stuff, right? Manned drones, unmanned drones. They're already doing this in parts of Asia. So I just think it's something we need to be aware of. It's coming. I think that, it's not for everyone, but I believe that within 5 years, you're going to be able to push a button on your phone, just like you do now for an Uber, and you're going to call a little helicopter to your front lawn, and it'll land on your front lawn. You will go out, get in it, and it will take you downtown and drop you at the FTA headquarters, and it'll be $99, and then eventually $49 when, more than 15 people a day ride it. So I think it's coming. I don't know how, what the role is for public transit agencies to be involved in it, but I just think it's coming. All right. I know we're running. What time do we start? Are we done? Is that my 30 minutes? Should I go into this or not? This is going to be 5 more minutes.
Go for it.
Okay.
Go for it.
All right. Top 10 ways to future-proof your transit service. This is what I'm hearing, right? I'm talking to people all over the world all the time, and this is what they're saying. Number one, this is ways we can future-proof. What does that mean? Hey man, we're in a resurgence, right? A rebound in Maryland. We have, Governor Hogan came on last week and clamped us down more. And I expect more to come next week, the way that operates. Remember how it was before? Every week he clamped down more. Before you know it, we'll be locked in our homes probably. But it's all on the side. That's not for attribution. But I don't know anything. I haven't talked to him in a couple months. But zero emission buses are number one. Why? Because we've lost the higher moral ground, right? Everybody now says transit's not clean. Yes, we are clean. Not only when it comes to, all the COVID stuff, but, for the first time in how long? People from LA to Shanghai can see the skyline. How did that happen? Nobody's driving. If you want to keep seeing your skyline, LA folks, and Shanghai and all these cities in between, you need to get out of your car, get in a commuter vehicle or get in a bus, and we are moving to zero emission. It gives us the higher moral ground in the argument, is my point. It's positioning ourselves in the market once again with a high moral ground saying, no, electric, CNG, hydrogen fuels, that emphasizes our ability to help create a clean future. So I think they're key to helping us kind of turn the corner on this fear of riding transit, this morass of false information that's out there. Then I think new tech tools, right? Back office scenario planning, rerouting service, adjusting rosters and shifts quickly and seamlessly when needed. That's how you future-proof. We used to have water main breaks like every 3 days in Baltimore. We'd have to run buses around them and all this stuff, it's bad. The infrastructure there, I'm not kidding. I think they still have wooden water pipes in some parts of the city. That's what somebody told me. And so the same thing here, right? When COVID hit, people were like, holy crap, we got to adjust service and reroute. What are we going to do? We'll go Saturday only schedule. Well, Saturday only schedule didn't necessarily work for everybody. You need to have the right tech tools in place so you can play with your routes, analyze what's the ridership here, what's going on there, what hours of the day, so if you're going to be an effective transit planner, you need to have the right tools in place to make sure you provide the right product at the right time to the right people. I'm telling you, most transit systems, their technology is stuck in the 90s. They haven't even made it to the 21st century yet. And so they need to have the right tools. High frequency routes, we've already talked about that, using headway management. Add that in with TSP and bus only lanes, and man, you got a winner to help future-proof your service. New software and hardware that allows for better tracking of assets, buses, rail cars, facility cleaning, and more for accurate on-yard vehicle location. Do you know that where most bus accidents happen? At almost every yard, I gave away the answer. At almost every agency in the country. They happen in the yard, in the bus yard. I'm not kidding. We had a yard. It was actually the one at Washington Street where we had like 250 buses. And they kept hitting a pole as they were pulling into the lane to have their vaults, their fare box vaults pulled out. You know, they call that vaulting, where they probe the fare box and then calculate how much money and they pull it out. And it took them 6 months to figure out what to do. Finally, we just painted lines so they could follow in right. But that's where a lot of accidents are happening. And, you know, people still don't know where the buses are on their yard. They're still using the technology that was used in the 1800s, paper and pencil. I'm not kidding you. I was just at a major transit system out near Vancouver, Washington, just before COVID in November. And I always tour them when I go there, and I walked through the dispatch office and I looked up on the wall, and there it was, big piece of paper with all the lot lines, for all the spots, and a utility personnel had walked the lot just before and written down, all the numbers. Okay, bus 22 is there, bus 18. I said, how long's that been up there? I asked the dispatcher, a few hours. So you think anything's changed in the last year? So, I mean, now people are right. They're bringing back their paratransit vehicles in between each passenger to have it cleaned down. I mean, you've got to know where your vehicles are. So this is how you future-proof, right? And then let's see here. Contactless faring. I already talked about that. Moving away from that. That's big. Real-time passenger info. We've talked about that. Letting people know. Now, here's one key point, though. Some of the software that you have on your phone now has, it tells you, it's based on the APCs, right? They're called automatic passenger counters. They're right at the front of the bus. It's like a beam that comes down and counts each passenger that comes in. So it says the bus is full. Let me ask you, what use is that information to me before the bus gets to my bus stop? What if 10 people get off the bus and I didn't go out there because it was full? And then 10 people got off, I could have got on. So it's got to have more contextualized information. And there's one or two companies now, and I don't think mine is one of them. I didn't say that, but there's one or two companies now that have software out that is giving you context. Like it's been read full for the last 5 days, weekdays at this stop, the one before it and the one after. So you kind of get a better feel. It's big information right now. In winter, it's going to be even more important, right? Nobody wants to go out and wait anymore. Nobody wants to wait in lines. So do you want to wait at a bus stop for 15 minutes only to find that because of the social distancing required, and this bus now only has 25 passengers allowed, you walk out there, you stand there in the rain, there's no shelter, you waited under your umbrella, and then it gets there after 15 minutes and it says, sorry, we're full, you're going to be torqued. So this kind of information is valuable. And that was the one day that week you went into the office, right? So, and now microtransit, we've already talked about how great that is, provides more individualized service. Online mobile trip booking, big. I used to run the WMATA call center, Washington Metropolitan Area Transit Authority, or as we used to call it, just keep it to us, we meet and talk a lot. So we had like 60 reservationists sitting in this call center, right? All right next to each other. You can't do that right now. You're not allowed to have all the people sitting next to each other. It's not safe and it's not allowed. So how do you, as volumes pick back up, you've got to go to online trip booking, prepare transit and microtransit. You can't be having people have to call in for every trip and have reservationists take those calls unless you outsource it somewhere or allow people to take them from home. Autonomous vehicles, we haven't talked about this much, man. This is big. This is big. It was big before, right? And it's even bigger now. It's low touch, no driver. We're not there yet. Every vehicle still has somebody in it. I got to ride the very first one, by the way, in the world in regular route public transportation. I did a whole podcast about it. It was awesome. It was in Switzerland at the Rhine Falls. And this was like 2.5 years ago. I wanted to run the very first one, George will remember, in Baltimore. And I was doing a deal with Mark Joseph to try to have them run it for us, up from Baltimore. Once you did a reverse commute route out to Aberdeen Proving Grounds. And I thought Aberdeen Proving Grounds would be a perfect place to run the autonomous vehicle on campus, right? It's a military campus. Nobody's going to go out and tip it over, hopefully, and all that stuff. So with no driver on, you never know what's going to happen. And they're small. I mean, they're lightweight. I could probably tip it over on my own. And but it never happened. So we weren't the first one in the world. Vegas got that honor. MJ Maynard, the CEO, invited me out to ride it a couple of years ago. And it's awesome. They're cool. And they've got a great niche purpose. Not every purpose. The unions don't like them because they're afraid it's going to cost them jobs. So, you got to fit it into the whole mix. It's not going to work everywhere. But they do. Nat Ford, who runs Jacksonville Transit, he was running them right in the height of COVID with no driver for the first time in America on board, no safety person on there. but it was just taking the COVID-19 test samples from the drive-through, tents back to the Mayo Clinic where they were testing it. So there's all kinds of uses for these. And then finally, mobility as a service. I think everyone knows what that is, but it is aggregating all the mobility services in a city onto one smartphone app. And so this means passengers can plan for their trip, pay for their trip, and eventually, like they do in Helsinki, Finland with the WIM app, they can actually subscribe to it. Think about that. Think about the future where a young couple in a city now will only need one car, maybe no car, but maybe just one, because I can buy a silver plan, $500, and it will give me unlimited transit ridership on a public transit. And it will give me, X amount of trips on Uber or Lyft, 5 rentals of the Zip car, and, X amount on bike and scooter, and maybe in Baltimore, maybe even on the water taxi. You include all that for $500. I mean, APTA did a study, right? The average car costs over $900 a month, and you tag on the parking in downtown Baltimore or downtown DC, which could be several $100s. I mean, you could run into $1,200 a month for a car. And think about if you could pay $500 and you don't have to worry anymore. And as a matter of fact, they're going to come right to your door, and you don't have to park. It's going to save you 15 minutes a day because they'll drop you off at the front door. I mean, it's phenomenal, and it's right around the corner. Dallas, in my opinion, is doing it best in the country right now. Dallas, Texas. A guy named Leininger was his name. He was a CFO. I went down 2 years ago and met with him and talked to him about how he was developing it for the DART, for Dallas Area Transit. Gary Thomas, the CEO, who is retiring this year, he oversaw this. It's phenomenal. They have 10 different services on one app, and it's all there. You can't subscribe yet. There's nobody in America is doing subscriptions yet that I know of, but they are doing, you push one button and you can pick the cheapest way or the fastest way to get there. So let's do the fastest way. Okay. An Uber will come to your door, take you out to the light rail station in Dallas. You get out there, take the light rail downtown, then get off and there's a bike rack right there. You can rent the bike and ride the last 3 blocks of your city if you want. You push this one button, it pays all of them. You have a little squiggly line thing that you show and it's done. I mean, pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Got my kids' book. I gotta pitch that for 10 seconds. It was my COVID lockdown project. I worked with an illustrator and did a great little storybook for kids on public transport. Nothing else like it. I went and looked. That's why I did it. Like I mentioned earlier, I got 5 grandkids and I wanted something to show them what Giggy does. That's what they call me. And there wasn't anything out there. So I made one. It's on Amazon. It's the cheapest I can do. I only make 33 cents a book. I'm giving it away, basically. This is all Amazon. I lowered it to the lowest price I could get. If you want to know more of what I'm doing, all the fun stuff we're doing, I have a website, Future Public Transportation, the podcast. It's all free. Everything here is free. Trapeze Group, if you want to do, I just did a really cool article on reaching out to families. I had some help writing it. It's marketing our transit services to families, which is, something I'm keen about. But we haven't done well enough. And if you don't follow me on LinkedIn, you should. I put up something every day, cutting edge on public transportation. And LinkedIn just made me one of their, this last week, one of their expert voices now, where I can comment on stuff and they push it out to everywhere all over the world. So I'm their transit guy. Pretty cool. So anyway, that's it. I'm done. I can take questions.
Okay, thanks so much, Paul. We have a couple questions. The first one is from Brandon. Do you see the FAA loosening its restrictions on UAV operations anytime soon?
Yes, I do. And now it depends on what happens in the next administration, right? But the current administration is definitely open to, innovation and are allowing almost too much, maybe allowing too much private sector innovation without hardly any oversight. And I think there needs to be a little bit of safety oversight on this stuff. And so, yeah, I think they will open up a little bit more. But they're going to have to. You can't hold back innovation.
Okay, another one is that you had mentioned wearables. And do transit agencies really see that as an option?
So go to TransLink's website. That's in Vancouver, Washington. The guy there, a friend of mine, his CEO, he really piloted that and it works. I watched it. They showed me how it works. Boom. And it's pretty cool, right? You have a bracelet. It's got a chip in it that it's just like an Apple Watch or whatever, right? But it has the information in it that it's what it's really like? It's more like having a charm card, right? A multi-use card, the chip that comes in the bracelet. That's all it is. You just don't have the plastic around it. The plastic is shaped into a bracelet and you tap it. So it's necklaces, yeah. I mean, it's not for everybody. but it is cool. I mean, you remember when TfL, Transport for London, 4 years ago, implemented the tap and go credit cards, right? Which was big, right? Contactless cards was big. I actually got to visit there right when they did it, 6 months after. Shashi Verma is the chief technology officer there, and he implemented it. And within 6 months, 40% of the people riding the tube and the buses were using it. So yeah,
Well, they did a shoe collaboration too with the Oyster card in shoes.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I see people want something easy, right? I watched them do it. People were, I don't know how, they must have only had one credit card in their wallet, but they were taking their wallet and just tap. They didn't even take the card out of their wallet. They were just taking their wallet and tapping it on the turnstile there. So yeah, I think there's a future for anything which is fun and easy to use and makes it so you don't have to fumble in your wallet for cash.
Okay. All right, Paul, that's all the questions we have. Thank you so much for your time. We're going to go ahead and transition with.
I have a question for my buddy Paul.
Yes, George.
All
And
right,
I think this is a good question for a lot of us that, a lot that run transit. And Paul, I know you're all over the world. And we're having issues down here in one of our counties further south, I won't mention, Paul will know. With drivers, it seems a lot of the agencies can't keep drivers anymore these days. They keep firing them because of marijuana.
Oh, yeah.
The marijuana laws, whether it's recreational or whether it's medical. And are you seeing the trend? What is Colorado particularly doing about this?
Yeah. So I think the trend is moving toward, I think eventually it'll be taken off the Federal Register of banned substances. I'm surprised Trump didn't do it. I thought he would do it at the end to try to get himself over the edge, and get all the weed fanatics to vote for him. But I think, if Biden ends up in there, which it looks like he will, I think they may take it off the Federal Register, and then it won't be a problem with CDLs, right? That's the big issue. And so states have already moved toward that. So I do see that coming off, just like, alcohol did many years ago. I still think there'll be, testing. You obviously don't want somebody driving who's under the influence of marijuana or alcohol. So I think there'll still be safety measures in place, but that's a problem. I know that at the MTA police force in Baltimore, I probably shouldn't say it, but we were looking at, when I left, they were like, we can't get enough applicants that will pass our test. And so we were pulling back on some of those requirements, that you couldn't have any convictions, obviously not dealers, but maybe usage of under X amount. I don't even remember what they were looking at, but a lot of agencies were looking at changing the rules because, just like you said, we could not get enough qualified applicants for the positions.
Yep. And particularly for those for medical use, they may use it after hours, but they test dirty and then bam, they're fired.
Yeah. If you've got a medical use certificate in Maryland, the problem is a CDL. That's the issue, right? Because that's federal. Is that the issue, George? They can't get their CDL. They pop positive on a test.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah. So it's got to be done federally, right? Because they control the rules behind the commercial driver's license. It's a national program. So it's probably something that, APTA or some of these groups may end up having to go to Congress or to the administration and ask them for some help on that, because that, especially if it's a medical thing, that doesn't make sense why they couldn't use it if they're not, as long as they, I guess you'd have to figure out how to test people just like you do for alcohol without the actual blood test or without the, because they're going to have it in their system for 30 days, right? I mean, that's the average. And so
that's right.
Figure out a way to test them for, are they inebriated or impaired at this moment? It's tricky, but I think it's coming.
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, half the country is smoking weed now, I think. Yeah, literally. And Canada, by the way, last year, they made it legal for the whole country. My company's up there, and I went up there like, hey, I've never tried drugs once in my life, but they were like all about, they were all about it. Hey, it's legal now. Okay. All right. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Paul.
Bye.
Okay, so we're going to transition. First, we're going to have our third trivia question. So, Elizabeth, let's see if we can put that up on the screen. Let's see. The Chesapeake Chapter is comprised of which jurisdictions? Oh, this is a good one.
I hope everybody can get this one.
I hope so, too. Maryland and Virginia, Maryland, Virginia, and Washington, D.C.
I got
Maryland, Virginia, Washington, D.C., and Delaware. Maryland, Virginia, Washington, D.C., and West Virginia. All right.
We know that we have all the chapter specific swag in our store, right? We should all know this.
Put the link in the chat so everybody can see it. Yeah.
I bet everyone has already answered, right, Elizabeth?
Anyone else? Anyone else?
One should be an easy one.
Should be. All right. Three more seconds.
All
Two.
right.
I'm going to get this one right.
Wow. Okay. 61% is correct. Maryland, Virginia, Washington, D.C., and West Virginia.
If anybody knows anyone in West Virginia and you can
Yes.
get them to actually become a member, that would be really awesome.
That would be amazing. Amazing. All right. Let's go ahead and start with our award ceremony. I know you guys all have been waiting for this. Thank you again and welcome. This is our at Chesapeake Chapter Awards. We're very excited to announce our winners. And thank you for all that submitted the entries. They were amazing. I heard our nomination committee had the very difficult task of choosing just one winner for each one. So thank you, judges. And let's go ahead and go with the first one. First is the Best Print Marketing Award. And after we announce the winner, we'll see who from that organization can just say a few words. So for Best Print Marketing Award, it goes to Traffics. Yay! That's my company. Let's see. Traffics had an amazing campaign called Commute Differently. And they did print ads with the Commute Differently logo on it. In the midst of coronavirus, educating encouraged commuters to log their telework day and earn rewards. Over 2.4 million VMTs, vehicle miles not traveled. Over 134,000 trips eliminated. Tons of COT reduced. Amazing campaign. Latwana, she is the Special Projects Coordinator from Traffics. Do you want to say a couple words? Oh, let's see if we can unmute you. Okay.
All right. Hello, everyone. On behalf of Traffics, thanks so much. Thanks for this great award. We know we had a lot of amazing competition, and we're honored to be receiving this award. So thanks, ACT. And Emily, would you like something to say?
All right. Thanks so much, Latwana. Congratulations, Traffics.
Thanks.
All right. Our next award is Best Online Social Media and Marketing Campaign. And the winner is Ride Finders. Yay. I think we have John and Brigitte on here. I think John.
I know Sharika's on here, so I'll let Sharika speak. If she...
All right. Sharika, one second. I'm sorry. I meant to say a little bit about what you guys had done. You actually garnered 65,000 total impressions across social media, which is amazing. 31% increase over your goal. Again, amazing. You guys are rocking the social media. Facebook reached 77% and Instagram reached 35%. So great job, Sharika.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you to the Chesapeake chapter for putting this together and the judges for taking time out of their schedules to judge this. We're so really thankful for this. While one person kind of manages the social media, it's really a team effort. And I want to thank all of our staff for contributing to the success of this campaign. From Vaughn to John and Brigitte, as you can see from the pictures, we've all been a part of it. And I just want to thank the team for when I ask them to send me pictures or do things that they are so willing to do it. And I think that just really helps the success of the campaign. So thank you again for this recognition. We appreciate it.
All right, congratulations, Ride Finders. Let's see, our next award is Best Health Crisis Marketing Campaign Award. Oh, this should be a good one. I know this was a tough one. All right, go DC, go. Great job. Commute with Care, I love that tagline. They had free Commute with Care packages, 100 infographic downloads, YouTube views, over 11,000 social media impressions, and over 1,200 customized branded face masks and hand sanitizers. I bet that was difficult when everyone's trying to get hand sanitizers, excuse me. So go DC, go. Do we have anybody from there? Let's see. I don't think we have anybody online. Okay. All right. Congratulations. Let's go to the next one. Best Benefit Incentive Program Award is Washington Headquarters Services. Okay, the SOV rate at the Pentagon is shown to be 21%, achieving and exceeding their goal of 30%. Their vanpool carpool parking spaces had an estimated 84% utilization rate. That's amazing. And vanpool made up 8% of their overall mode share. That's amazing. Do we have anybody from Washington headquarters to accept the award? No? All right.
Hello, I'm sorry, this is Annette. I support WHS. I didn't realize we are winners, so definitely let our director, Ms. Regina Grant, know. So thank you for giving WHS the award. We've been having a great time joining ACT, and certainly, some of this data is from pre-COVID, and we're working hard to, hopefully with the new normal coming up soon, to bring the numbers back. So thank you very much.
Great job. All right, let's see, what do we have next? Oh, Outstanding TDM Professional Award. Oh, this was a tough one. Let's see. Oh, Mr. George Clark, the man of few words, huh? Most of you already know George, so I won't say anything. So George, you just go ahead and take it away.
Well, no, man, thank you guys. I don't know what to say for the first time in my life.
Speechless.
I can say this, you made my week and my month. Unbelievable. Thank you guys.
Well, George, Nancy nominated you, so I'll let Nancy say a few words if she wants to.
Wow.
Yes, Nancy.
Well, hello, everybody, and congratulations, George. I am absolutely thrilled because, as you know, George is out there and everywhere, and and we just see him everywhere, and he's just done a terrific job. Even before I became the program manager at the Maryland Transit Administration, George was my go-to person when I was a TDM specialist at the BWI Business Partnership, and even before that in previous jobs. But George has always been a terrific help to me, and I know he is to all of the companies that he works with down there in Southern Maryland. And he's also a big support of all his fellow TDM specialists in the state of Maryland and beyond. So congratulations, George.
Congratulations, George.
I am thrilled.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Nancy. It means a lot. And
Right,
no,
George.
I did not help Paul Comfort write any of his books.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, Tracy, what do we have next? Okay. Next is the President's Award. And uh-oh, did it say it? It didn't say. Oh, well, there you go. It's Kendall Tiffany. Yay. Just a few words, Kendall, before your acceptance speech. I just wanted to say that, our professional volunteer organizations like ACT, we're always looking for members, to take time out of their busy day and dedicate some hours to promote our mission. Sometimes it does get very challenging, and we do appreciate that. And 2 years ago, we basically needed a new board, and Kendall stepped up to the plate and became our secretary. And she has definitely done an amazing job, and she does represent a new generation of TDM professionals. And being involved in TDM for the past 5 years, the board for the past 2 years, it's been amazing to have her on board, and it's been a complete delight. So congratulations, Kendall.
Oh, thank you, Emily. I'm shocked. Just like George, I'm surprised. Thank you so much.
That's why I made it a surprise. I wanted to surprise you guys.
Yeah, because I was saying, I didn't know any of the awards, so it was fun to see any of them go through. So that was really cool. Great job,
I don't even know what award I just won, to be honest. I was taken back. I was sitting there and just like, what did I win? Unbelievable. Kendall, you deserve that, my friend.
Oh, thank you.
Well deserved. Definitely.
Thank you, guys.
Definitely. Okay. Tracy, is it time for another trivia question?
It is the last one.
Last one, folks.
All righty.
It'd be very easy, like rapid responses here. Okay, let me fix my screen. Have you updated your email settings in ACT Connect communities, including the Chesapeake Chapter community? ACT Connect, everyone? It's a yes or no. Or if it's a what's Connect, we've got something for you too. Have they all answered?
Okay, 5 more seconds.
5 more seconds.
Okay, I lost count. I think that's 5. All
Okay.
right, I'm going to end the polling and share your results.
50%. Okay, we'll take that. We will take that.
All right, let's do one. We're going to do one more slide. We'll do one more slide, and then we're going to tell you about Connect.
Yes, one more slide. Let's see. What is it? Oh, yes, we do want to congratulate our Act 40 under 40. Congratulations to Matthew Jones of Foursquare, Dana Paskett of Commute with Enterprise, and Sarah Pennington of Rideshare Thomas Jefferson, our planning organization. Excuse me. Congratulations to all 3 of you. It's amazing to be under 40 and to receive such an award. So great job, and thanks for representing our chapter.
Hey, Emily.
Yes.
Ride Finders also had one. We had Jakima Taylor. Yeah.
We did Jakima. I am so sorry.
Am I right, Elizabeth?
Yep, that's right. You are very correct.
Oh, I'm
Is she on the
disappointed.
phone?
Thank you for letting us know.
Well, she'll get a special shout out then.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's amazing.
So we had 4
to be
from
under
our
40.
chapter.
Good job,
Emily, can we get a copy of this presentation?
No. Yes, of course you can.
Please,
I think
wanna
we're
try.
recording it, so it will be on the website too.
Well, I'm looking at the awards because I want to leverage that for a raise.
There you go. Absolutely. All day long.
Not with budget cuts.
You never
I don't know about that, George. You know, it's pretty set in stone over here.
Oh, I know. It's same as my office. It was a joke.
We will do whatever we can to help you.
But I would like a copy of that, please.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, and it will be on the website.
Thank you.
Okay, so Elizabeth, you're talking about Connect?
Okay, so for those of you who said, what's Connect? I'm going to give you all a crash course. Connect is the new online community that ACT launched in September. You can consider it a combination between the TDM listserv and Facebook. And I'm going to actually share my screen. Oh, Tracy, can you stop your screen sharing so I can share?
Do you want me to show your video or?
Oh, yeah, that's right. You had the video. I forgot. So I will let Tracy show the video. And then if there's questions, I can answer questions.
And we are going to do another prize for anybody that changes their email notification by Friday, December 11th. You'll be entered into a random drawing as well. So everybody go up there and change your email notifications. And the video I have here will show you how to do that.
Hold on, girl.
There are already so many discussions going on Connect, ACT's new online community platform. In order to make sure you don't miss out on any of these, you need to review your email settings for each community that you belong to. To start off, let's pick the first community that we have available, the Cascade Chapter, and go into this one so I can show you where you need to update your settings. Where you have the title of the community here, in this case, the Cascade Chapter, there's a settings button. Yours will look a little bit different because mine's an administrative version. However, what you're looking for is this email notifications section. You'll see the drop down. I have already selected real time, but yours could be currently set to no email. That's the default option. So you need to select Daily Digest or Real Time in order to get updates when discussions are going on. Real time is pretty obvious. If somebody posts a discussion in this community, you will automatically, in real time, get an email in your inbox with that discussion post. If you opt for Daily Digest, once a day you will get a summary of every discussion that's gone on in the last 24 hours. This is probably the easiest version, but if you are like me and you want to know what's going on right away, then real time is the one to go with. So be sure for every community that you are interested in belonging to, that you go in and do the same thing for each one. So pick your chapter, pick your council, and then make sure that you have done that for TDM conversations as well, because that's the one that everybody is part of. I have this set as real time here as well. And then once you've done that, introduce yourself so that we get to know who you are.
Did you want to add anything to that, Elizabeth?
I think that I already clarified what I was going to say, so.
Okay.
Hey, look, I just like to say, guys, this was one great presentation by Paul Comfort. He is unbelievable and a great guy to reach out to, and he will always answer your calls.
All right, Tracy.
He is the transportation man.
All right, Tracy, what do we have next? Oh, yes. Chesapeake Chapter Board of Directors elections. Everyone should have received an email with everyone who's running for the positions for next year. So voting is open until Tuesday, December 1st. So please get your votes in. If you haven't received an email, reach out to Tracy and she'll definitely help you out. All righty. Oh, yes, definitely. A huge thank you for our nominating committee, our judges as well. Pinky, Brigitte, and Brandon, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I know it was a very difficult job. I do want to say a big thank you to Tracy. Tracy, you are amazing putting all this together, keeping me straight. I really appreciate it. You have no idea what a huge asset you are to our organization.
My pleasure. Thank you.
I know what an asset she is. Good going, Tracy.
She's amazing. All righty. What else do we have as we are wrapping up? Oh, yes. Save the date next week, or not next week, because next week's Thanksgiving. The week after, December 3rd, 2 p.m., a residential webinar with the Cascade chapter. And also January 7th, we're going to have a chapter check-in, kind of a casual chapter check-in like we did when COVID first started. So definitely look out for those emails. And let's see, what else do you have to? Oh, thank you all for attending. And each one of you will receive a small gift from us as a thank you for being a member and being involved in our chapter. We really appreciate it. And the winners for the trivia questions will be sent an email to redeem their gift card. So definitely everyone, thank you so much for spending your afternoon with us. We really appreciate it. Congratulations to all the winners. And hopefully have a great Thanksgiving and we'll see you on the 3rd. Thanks everyone.
I'll be in contact with all the winners so I get your address so we can mail you your award.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Congratulations, everyone.
Thank you.
Congrats, everybody.
Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
Thank you, George.